You're listening to the Telltale Channel. In this podcast, Trumper Janet Porter created a MAGA sitcom. It's bad. They did a rendition of the song YMCA. Their version is called ACLU, and it's about how the ACLU is destroying society. Marjorie Taylor Greene went on Alex Jones and made some statements about Dominion voting systems that I hope will get her sued out of existence. Not to mention Bill Nye debunking her Democrats have a hurricane gun conspiracy. What is she on? This stuff is so crazy. Glenn Beck spoke out against Trump in 2016. Well, now he's giving him a glowing endorsement. What could have possibly changed? Is it possible that maybe his opinion of Trump isn't genuine? Maybe he's just following whoever has the most power? This guy is so transparent. We also take voicemails. If you want to leave a voicemail, the number is 1-800-701-8573. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally. Hey, this is Owen. If you're comfortable, leave your first name and state at the sound of the tiny truck backing up.
Hi, this is Andrew. I'm calling from Wisconsin. I called in earlier before, but I kind of stumbled my words a little bit, so I'll try this instead. What I wanted to kind of talk about was how a lot of pro-Palestinian advocates are in this election trying to get people to not vote for Kamala in this election, because a lot of them see Kamala and Trump as having very similar stances on Israel, which, at least in my opinion, is not the case.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I try not to interrupt these, but how could anybody come to that conclusion? I don't understand. That's wild to me. Kamala hasn't said anything about Israel, almost at all. A few things, I guess. She has never said, I am a Zionist, like Joe Biden did. Everything that she's said has been supportive of ending the conflict. You know, honestly, it's not even a conflict. It's a one-sided massacre right now. And you know what else Kamala did, just on this note, recently? I thought this was interesting. If you notice, Trump and Kamala almost never talk about Palestine and Israel. Neither of them. It's not very common. But when they do, it's very targeted and specific. They have specific talking points because it's an issue that can hurt both of them. They have people on each side that support this group for that reason or whatever. On the right, people support Palestine because they f***ing hate Israel and Jews. And on the left, people support Palestine because they're horrified by what Israel is doing. On the right, they support Israel because it's a nationalist movement, the Zionist movement is. And on the left, people support Israel because there are a lot of left-leaning Jews. Anyway, they almost never talk about this issue. But recently, Israel confirmed that they took out the leader of Hamas in Gaza. And I thought it was interesting what Kamala's reaction was to that. She came out and praised the situation, said this is great. The guy's gone, and now we can bring this to an end. She created an off-ramp for Israel. You can stop. You did it. Good job. Let's quit. Let's go home and wrap it up. I thought that was an interesting strategy. It seems to me that Kamala is laser-focused on stopping the conflict over all else, and she will probably come out with more specific takes on all of that after the election, because it's no matter what they say, either of them, it's going to hurt them. Does not matter. So anyway, the point is she hasn't said anything about it, almost at all. So I don't know how people arrive at the conclusion that she is opposed to Palestine. Additionally, as the caller said, why would anybody think that Palestine would fare better under Trump? What? If you want to help Palestinians, you vote for Harris. I don't understand how anybody could get anywhere other than there. Funk Dragon 76 says she won't do anything. You might be right. She's limited in what she can do, though. As the president, she can advocate for a funding cut to Israel and stop sending arms and things like that over, which I'd be all for. You know what I would do? I would stop all payments to Israel, all payments, everything. And I would pay to set up reinforcements or like fortified positions at the 1967 borders and nowhere else. They wouldn't get a dime from me except for defense from the 1967 borders. But that's not going to happen, of course. Either way, she's not going to make things worse for Palestine, like actively worse, as we know Donald Trump is going to do.
Because if you think Kamala is bad on Israel, is going to be bad on Israel and Palestine, she probably is, but you also have to consider the alternative, which is Donald Trump, who has pretty much vocally promised that he's going to nuke any opposition to Israel. So
yeah, 100%.
You're pro-Palestine. I won't shame you for not voting, but I would just consider voting for Kamala just because she is going to be much better than the alternative. She probably won't do good with Israel-Palestine. She'll probably mess some things up, and she probably won't be perfect. But she's going to be much, much better than the alternative.
100%. And there's a subreddit, r/late stage capitalism, that is, it seems to me like custom created as Russian propaganda. Like it's just a full-blown effort to prevent people from voting, from discouraging people from voting and everything, saying like you'll get banned from the subreddit for saying something tantamount to Trump is worse than Kamala. The subreddit is all about reinforcing the belief that they're both equally as bad. It's insane to me. How did you get there?
That's really all I wanted to say. Sorry if I rambled on too long. Have a good day.
Yeah, I appreciate the phone call. A really interesting subject. Absolutely nuts, man. Absolutely nuts that people would hold these positions. I don't get it.
Hi, Owen. This is David from Kentucky. And I thought I might bring this up to you because I just saw this recently on Dead Domain. He did an interview with Steven Anderson's daughter. She's on the run from her crazy religious family. And I thought I might say something about that to you, see if you could spread light to see if you can possibly help her in any way. You might want to check out Dead Domain's video to see all the details, but it's pretty crazy. I know that you talked about your abusive upbringing when you were growing up, so thought you might be able to help. Anyway, love your videos. Keep up the good work. Bye.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I did. I heard about the Dead Domain interview with Miriam Anderson is her name, Steven Anderson's daughter. That being said, I support her getting away from her family, but she still believes in all of the same stuff. To my knowledge, she is currently dating, or she was very recently dating somebody that was a Steven Anderson fan who asked Steven Anderson for his permission to date Miriam. And then Steven Anderson gave the permission. So she's still a complete nutcase, and I support her getting out of that, but I won't support her financially. She's still off the rails. So anyway, yeah. Also, I did cover that. I talked about the whole video, I believe, on my Unfiltered YouTube channel. Owen Morgan Unfiltered should be releasing. By the time you see this, it'll be out. Anyway, yeah, thank you for the voicemail. Also, Philip Schwartz, thank you so much. I'm voting for Kamala because with Trump, we get fascism. Yeah, 100%. That's what it's about. Absolutely. We've got to fight this at every turn. We have to fight this. I don't get how people can be so completely backward ridiculous to believe that they're the same. Like, what?
Hey, Owen, it's Bernie. The other day, Donald Trump gave
Boy, this audio is rough, but I thought it was an interesting call, so.
a speech about his stupid coin that he's trying to list. And if you look very closely, he's standing in front of not just one, but 4 American flags with the gold border all the way around them.
Donald Trump? Interesting. I didn't notice that.
That gold border, they say, is a sign of Admiralty Court, and it's a sign of the corporate America.
So a flag with a gold border is a sign of corporate America and the Admiralty Court? Is that what it is? That's really interesting. I mean, I'm sure that I and the caller both recognize it's just complete bullshit, but there's certainly like a basis to this in QAnon, right? Like QAnon is going to go wild with this, I bet.
Court, and it's a sign of the corporate America. But Donald Trump is standing in front of those flags. John Enlow needs to
Enlow's a QAnoner.
see that video because he swears Trump is the common law president. Check it out.
That's really interesting. I did not know that Trump did that. Yeah. Well, if it's beneficial to the QAnon movement, then they'll run with a conspiracy like nobody's business. But if it's inconvenient, they'll just pretend it's not happening completely. They're suddenly the biggest skeptics on planet Earth if it's not convenient to their beliefs. Just wild stuff, man.
I'm beginning to feel like a stalker. I'm Judy from Georgia. I'm 76 years old. I'm a Democrat, and I just wanted to tell you how much I love your video.
I appreciate that. I mean, I don't think you're a stalker as long as you're not like waiting outside my house or something. No, that's good. I appreciate it.
Watch them. I watch every one of them. Thank you so much for, keeping it real with religion. I'm a Christian myself, but I get where you're coming from totally. I appreciate you and look forward to your videos. Take care.
100%. I appreciate the call. Glad you like my stuff. That's the I actually get a lot of calls from people that are just, they just want to say they like my stuff and that's it. And I don't usually put them on air because I figure they're just for me, but be aware that I'm hearing them. I do hear the messages you're leaving if you're saying positive stuff or whatever. 1-800-701-8573. Give me a call there. Anyway, thank you, Judy, for that. I appreciate that. I'm glad you're watching.
Yeah, I just want to point out something that I noticed. I really think a lot of these right-wing politicians are saying Kamala's name as Kamala just so they can get the whole word association with Kabbalah. I honestly wouldn't put it past them with how much they try and use flippy stuff like that. Love your show. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought about this, and I have an opinion on why right-wingers keep saying Kamala rather than Kamala. Here's what I think. 5 years ago, when Kamala ran for VP or whatever, ran for president and then became VP, I thought her name was Kamala also. I didn't realize it was pronounced differently. When I figured out it was Kamala, I just started pronouncing it correctly. Like, it's not like a pronoun or some other. It's just how her name's pronounced. Like, okay, I figure out their name's pronounced Jimmy instead of James. There are a billion examples of names being pronounced differently. So, okay, I figure out her name's pronounced this way. I start saying it. In my opinion, I think that right-wingers are saying Kamala intentionally because they don't want to, because they want to piss people off, I think. I don't think they have any underlying intent or, any ideology tied to any of that. I think they just want to piss people off. I think they just don't want to change, so they're not going to. That's what it boils down to. It's the same reason they about left-leaning people using pronouns correctly, like nonstop. Like, they just cannot shut up about that. It's the same thing, in my opinion. Anyway, yeah, I really appreciate the voicemails to everybody. And that was a really interesting one. Yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. I don't know if you guys know Joel Webbin. He's a right-wing nutcase, right? He's a Christian nationalist, self-affirmed Christian nationalist. He's telling us that he believes this. He has some opinions on women and how to deal with them. So check this one out. This is from mid-October 2024.
And if that were to occur, and the just penalties were to be enforced, you, the false accuser, is now put to death, and that's a public death.
He's talking about if a woman falsely accuses somebody of assault, basically. He says that the woman should be put to death.
it's a public sentence, publicly carried out, then the citizens of these United States of America, you know what they would do? Hashtag Me Too would end real fast.
And as we know, Me Too was like a terrible movement, right? That did a lot of damage to society. Why would you want to end hashtag Me Too? It is what exposed Harvey Weinstein, right? Isn't that what it like was all about? Harvey Weinstein's how it started, I think. And Bill Cosby and like a bunch of really terrible people. Now, I don't believe in accusing somebody and not providing evidence and not, just destroying their reputation with no court hearing or anything or whatever. Obviously, I don't believe in that. Nobody believes in that, as far as I know. They shouldn't. But that's not what the Me Too movement was meant to accomplish. He seems to think that all Me Too allegations are false. You know the percent of false assault allegations? It's crazy low. Let's find out. Hang on. Let's just look it up on the electric internet machine here. Apparently, it's a complex number. Okay, yeah, it's apparently a complex number, and it's between 2 and 8%. So what that tells me is that we need to get investigators involved to investigate and verify that all this information is accurate, right? I mean, I think that our judicial system is okay in this area, not top tier, but we can usually suss out when something is false and when it's not, right? For the most part. The problem is that he wants to create a system in which we don't use investigators anymore or police or the judicial system or anything. He wants to create a system where his Christian nationalist framework can control everything. So what's his solution? Put him to death. If there are accusations, put them to death. And that makes it that much harder for people who were genuinely taken advantage of to come out and publicly say it. Now they're afraid that they're going to be put to death, even if it's real, because they're not going to be believed. That's what his system is going to create. And he probably knows that. I would bet money that he knows that.
Fast. How do you false accusing? Playing the victim when you're actually not? Like, you know how to end that real fast? All you have to do is publicly execute a few women who have lied.
That's insane. What is wrong with him? Seriously. That's not even the most insane thing I've heard him say. I've heard him say way more crazy stuff. Anyway, tell me what you think about this guy in the comments. This is just like depraved. Straight up depraved. Next up, Trumper Janet Porter created a MAGA sitcom. It's bad. They did a rendition of the song YMCA. Their version is called ACLU, and it's about how the ACLU is destroying society. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally. Okay, the woman on the left here is Janet Porter. She's created a MAGA sitcom. A MAGA sitcom. It's so bad, dude. I've talked about it before, but there are new episodes, new clips coming out. It's so entertaining. I sat here for 3 hours the other day and recorded it directly on my phone. Every episode that was available. I don't know where to find these episodes. If somebody knows, please tell me. At me in the chat or leave a comment or something. I would love to have the full episodes. Anyway, they did this whole, they did a dance. It was kind of imitating the YMCA dance. Just give this a listen. A MAGA sitcom. Young man, are you trying to pray?
We're going to take it about away. Did you say God said that's okay? It was in vain.
Did you say God's name? That's okay because it was in vain? I don't understand what the hell that means. It's fun to sue when you're the ACLU. Oh my God. ACLU. They got a laugh track in the background. Oh my God, it's so bad. What was funny about that? Why'd they put a laugh track in? It's so stupid.
All your rights, it's what we enjoy. We'll sue every girl, we'll sue every boy. We're gonna end AGA. We say we're gonna end.
Look, they got Trump in the background dancing. You see it? Anybody ever notice that Trump looks like he's taking part in a private party, if you will, you know, with a couple of guys next to him? When he dances, he does this. Anybody ever notice? It's just kind of like this. Hanging out at a private party with some dudes. All right, let's watch Trump do that more.
We say we're gonna end AGA. And we can say Merry Christmas. And we can pray. Thanks, President Trump, for an AGA.
Oh my God, it's so bad. I love it. I love everything about it. Oh God. All right, so like I said, I went through a bunch of episodes the other night. I went through 4 episodes, and each one was an hour long with commentary and everything. So I sat there and I recorded everything. It took me forever. And I clipped some of it out. Listen to what they were talking about here. They're sitting at their job, at their work, getting ready to go. And she's talking about, I think, communism here.
Oh, wait, listen to this. Instead of hold music, they've got Ronald Reagan's famous speeches. Here you go.
Open this gate. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Okay.
Before President Trump, Ronald Reagan was my favorite.
Knock me over with a feather. You're a Reagan fan? Wow. Who would have expected?
Class to go hear him speak. But I got a teachable moment for you. You ready? What is yet another reason why we know socialism is a colossal failure?
What?
When the Berlin Wall came down, nobody ran to the east. Everyone ran to freedom.
Okay. Is she aware that socialism is not communism? I wrote a whole book on this subject, owenmorgan.com. It's on Amazon. Was Hitler an Atheist is the name of the book. It's on Audible, too, if you want to give it a read on Audible. Anyway, after Germany fell in 1945, I think May 1945 is when the Soviets took Berlin. Anyway, after that happened, each different ally, you know, British, French, Americans, Soviets, they each had their own zone that they were responsible for. And the western portion of Germany was controlled by the Soviets, by the Russians. And it was real ugly when they first took it over because I don't know how else to say it, they used it as like a weapon of war. It was a punishment on the German people for what Hitler did. And truthfully, the vast majority of the German people did not support what Hitler did. In my opinion, I think that it was about 10% actively opposed what Hitler was doing. About 20 to 25% actively supported what Hitler was doing. And then the other 60-something, 70% were just kind of going along, doing their thing, and just following the rules as they were supposed to follow them. And when the Soviets flooded into Germany, into Berlin, there was just like a massive wave of across the country. And, you know, abortion rates shot through the roof. And there was a rumor going around that Stalin was trying to prevent abortion because he wanted to see a racial shift in Germany. I mean, it was real ugly stuff. They were like, you know, they were bad. You know, the Soviets were really bad. And the way that they implemented communism was bad. What does that have to do with socialism? Does she know what socialism is? You know who she is? She's the lawyer that wrote the heartbeat bill, the first heartbeat bill. That was her. She came up with it. Socialism at the time was just a system designed to fight for workers' rights. That's it. If you're a socialist, it means you stand for universal health care, you believe in unemployment insurance, end-of-life pensions like Social Security, for example, those types of things. Workers' rights, unions, that's what a socialist was at the time. Today, a socialist system is one in which no single person owns a company. Each individual worker owns stock in the company, owns a share, basically. And the more they work, the harder they try to improve conditions for the company, and the better they market and all that stuff, the higher their stock value will go. And it's a motivation for people to work to build the company more, basically. So it's kind of like a democratized workplace versus a dictatorship-like workplace. Like right now, we live in a system where Mark Zuckerberg owns and controls everything in Facebook, like all of it, because he started it. It's all his. I mean, he's sold some of his shares, and he has a board that he has to work with or whatever, but he is the owner of Facebook and the founder, the creator. In a socialist system, that wouldn't be the case. The guy that founded it would have a lot of stock, certainly, but the CEO would be voted for by the people, and everybody's boss all the way up the chain is voted for by the subordinates. So anyway, that's what socialism really is. Now, how is that similar to communism exactly, where the state controls all of it? You have to get permission from the state to hire or fire anybody, and all of the money is completely controlled on a granular level by the state. How are those things similar, like, at all? Is she aware that there are differences here? Or, I mean, as a lawyer, I would think that she would know, right? I'm not a lawyer. I'm just some fucking asshole, and I happen to know this stuff.
Everyone ran to freedom.
The socialist slogan should be, you make it, we take it.
But that's not what socialism is. Like, what does that even mean? What are you talking about?
I don't understand the confusion. The love of socialism could be cured with a single field trip to Cuba, to Venezuela, or California.
Right.
What?
Let's do an exchange. We bring the freedom lovers here, and we send the socialists to Venezuela or Cuba, where socialism has worked so well. People are...
You know what the real problem is in those countries? Corruption and authoritarianism. That is why, in my opinion, communism is doomed to fail every time, because corruption slips into the system. I don't believe it's possible to correct for that corruption in a communist system. Not right now, anyway. I haven't seen any evidence that it could. Socialism, like workers' rights, a democratized workplace, what does that have to do with, like, a dictatorship in Cuba or whatever? I don't understand. This is just wild to me.
Eating rancid meat out of dumpsters.
Oh, thanks for spoiling my lunch.
This guy is actually really funny. I like his character so much. Big fan. It's a shame that he is an evangelical extremist who wants to kill gay people, because I would really appreciate his character otherwise.
Thanks for spoiling my lunch. Call him later. Come on, let's go.
It can only take so much at a time.
They're not dating, FYI. It seems like they are. I mean, this right here made it seem like they were dating. They're not. This cat is licking my hand. You guys can't see it. There you go. Now you can see her licking my hand. Where was I? Good kitty. She licks my hand so that I pet her, and she's giving me the privilege of giving her a bath, pretty much, without getting my eyes scratched out. Okay, cool. Let's switch back to this. It's like watching Chinese propaganda, I know. Well, it's like watching any propaganda, not just Chinese propaganda. All right, check this one out. This is another clip from another episode where they just, like, lay into socialism and communism again.
Ready, set, go.
Jack stuck with facial hair. Go team. Say something in Spanish. Yo tengo ojos bonitos azules. A place where a dog lives. Obviously. Pet shit. Community group you hate.
I don't really hate
Exact.
The Homeowners Association.
A community group you hate? The Homeowners Association? Okay, most people don't like those, I don't think.
Who are communists? Favorite president?
Who are communists? The HOA is communist. How? What are you talking about? How does the state control? Does she even know what communism is? These people are so full of shit.
Who are communists? Favorite president besides Trump?
Ronald Reagan.
He said,
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
prove social.
Dude, she is obsessed with Reagan's tear down this wall quote.
Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
Prove socialism doesn't work.
Nobody ran to the east.
And Trump's going to.
Make America great again.
Why is it said that? Because she watches
Fake news.
You getting with
CNN.
Who's
Okay, wow. So I think he said prove socialism doesn't work. No one ran to the east. These are two different episodes, by the way, that I pulled these from. This is just like a talking point that they try to spread.
Why is it said that? Because she watches fake news. You get into it. CNN, whose viewers are captive travelers at airports. Something you have to do every day when you lose it. On my cell phone. But sometimes. Every day. Sometimes. Twice a day. Yes. The man you want to marry. Jack Lauer. Yes. Secret crush. I don't really have. Congressman Louis Gohmert.
Oh, God, Louis Gohmert. No. She has a secret crush on Louis Gohmert. Who the hell likes Louis Gohmert, of all people? We'll hit him in a second.
Opposite of the golden rule, the metric system. The two people who know you best at the party. Mom, Lori. Who knows you the very best? Jeff. Yes,
Okay, wow. Let me just show you Louis Gohmert. He's not a congressman anymore, by the way. I don't know if you guys knew, but we voted him out, which is a huge deal. Like, that's really big. He was in Congress for, like, ever. Since the early 2000s, I think. And we finally got him out. Oh, my God. Miki is a long-haired cat, and there's hair everywhere when you pet her. It's just, like, floating in the air. You're inhaling it. Anyway, let's just watch, like, a couple of Louis Gohmert clips. If you don't know him, oh, my God, buckle up. This is probably his most famous clip of all time. It's a clip titled, "Don't Cast Aspersions on My Asparagus."
The gentleman's characterization of the Attorney General's answer is not appropriate exercise of the gentleman's right of personal privilege.
All right,
so
Mr. Chairman, point of personal privilege.
Right. The gentleman may complete his statement, and then we'll move on.
All right, thank you. The Attorney General made statements that what I said was not true, when actually the reverse is what happened.
No, he's lying, obviously. Louis Gohmert was lying, and he was called on it.
I asked the Attorney General what was asked. This is my point of personal privilege, and then the gentleman...
No, it's not a point of personal privilege.
Yes, it is.
But it's not. Like, that's not how Congress works. Are you shitting me right now? He knows this. He was in Congress for, like, ever. By the way, this is 2013. This is mid-May 2013.
So when you attack somebody's integrity and say they made statements that were not true, then, of course... that raises a point of personal privilege, but the Attorney
That's just like, he's so full of shit with everything that he says.
General failed to answer my question about
regular order, Mr. Chairman.
Aspersions on my asparagus.
Whoa, wait, I'm sorry, one more time. What was that last line?
Regular order, Mr. Chairman.
Aspersions on my asparagus.
Don't cast aspersions on my asparagus.
My asparagus.
The
Dude's got asparagus, okay? Don't cast aspersions on that. It doesn't deserve it. What did that even mean? Why did he even say that?
If the election in 2020 goes the wrong way.
Yeah, this is from 2019, mid-October. So it's right before voting happened last round.
We're done. We'll keep fighting. You know, people have said, yeah, you'd been one of the last ones at the Alamo, probably. But it's a cause worth fighting for. Now,
what's a cause worth fighting for? He's saying if Trump loses, then he's going to keep fighting? What?
If hate crime legislation is not changed, I said it back when it was being brought up. If this passes, someday it'll be used to prosecute Christian ministers for reading from the Bible.
Oh, give me a break.
And they thought I was talking about homosexuality. I didn't want to give them any ideas, but what I had in my mind back then was someday they're going to come after Christians for saying, Jesus said, I'm the way, the truth, and the life. No one goes to the Father but by me. That's hateful. That's mean-spirited.
He has created this whole fictitious scenario in his head where he's being persecuted and then telling everybody that this is totally going to happen. Oh, my God. Here's a clip of Louis Gohmert. God, I'm so glad he's out of office now. Remember, he is Janet Porter's crush. Here's Louis Gohmert with Marjorie Taylor Greene complaining. I think they're at one of the prisons where the January 6th prisoners are being kept. They just showed up there, wanted to see them and talk to them or whatever. You can't do that. Like, you have to schedule stuff and arrange it.
To match them. We have been denied the ability to go back and have a tour. We've been denied even a phone call.
Yeah, head, you can't just call anybody you want. I'm sorry, I'm not like that. I'm not going to do that. You can't, look, they're prisoners because they broke the law and their rights are limited. So they can't just, like, go in and talk to you whenever they want or whatever. They can't, like, walk out. You can't send them a cell phone or whatever. It's stupid. There are rules that they have to follow because their rights are limited.
Back. So that's why we're here today at her office to say you need to give us a visit. You owe this to all of the people that we represent across the country. And then this city needs cleaned up. There's homeless people all over the city. Crime
Okay, what does that have to do with the January 6th people exactly?
is out of control, and it has a jail that is clearly a dangerous place for people.
And suddenly she cares about the jail. Not any other jail. She doesn't care what's happening in ADX Florence Supermax. She doesn't give a shit if prisoners are not being fed on time or being fed appropriate food to keep them alive or whatever. She cares about the January 6th people very specifically. She's not a champion for prisoners' rights.
To be because they're dying last week, and then these pretrial January 6th defendants have been held months on end, being abused as political prisoners of war by not only federal judges,
Prisoners of war. That means she believes that they are on an oppositional side. They have declared war on the United States government. And if she really believes that, then this is her giving aid and comfort to an avowed enemy of the United States. And that is treason. That's actually treason. If what she's saying is true, she is committing treason right now. She knows that this is completely made up. She knows it. She must, right?
Prosecutors of the Department of Justice, but also the D.C. jail where Kathleen Landerkin is probably still the deputy warden, and she says herself how much she hates Republicans.
Oh my God, dude. She is so obnoxious and ridiculous. So yeah, that's Louis Gohmert is the point. He's just...
We have heard repeatedly since January 6th, this was an armed insurrection. And as I asked Merrick Garland, and I've asked others, is there anybody been charged with insurrection? And the answer,
yes, there have. Are you kidding? Dude, it is so stupid. It's so stupid. It's almost like it has to be satire, but it's not.
And the answer is actually no.
Yes. Okay, this was a year after the election. This was a full, actually it was 13 months after the election, and it was 11 months after Biden's inauguration. Okay, so they had already charged a bunch of January 6th people. They had been sitting in jail for a year up to this point when he said this. So tell me, dumb as a dog or a liar? Which one?
Has there anybody been charged with insurrection? And the answer is actually no. No one has been charged with insurrection. In fact, if they were going to charge with someone with insurrection, it's beginning to sound more and more like those would be agents for the federal government that were there stirring things up, trying...
Oh, please. Anyway, yeah, that's Louis Gohmert. That's their stupid, terrible MAGA sitcom and Janet Porter. Oh my God, dude.
We'll take all your rights. It's what we enjoy. We'll sue every girl. We'll sue every boy. We're gonna end ACLU.
Ugh, God. Tell me what you think about it in the comments. It's so bad. Next up, Marjorie Taylor Greene went on Alex Jones and made some statements about Dominion voting systems that I hope will get her sued out of existence. Not to mention Bill Nye debunking her Democrats have a hurricane gun conspiracy. What is she on? This stuff is so crazy. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally. Marjorie Taylor Greene has been on a tour lately where she's going around talking to all kinds of ridiculous media figures, saying just so stupid stuff. She goes and talks to Alex Jones. I want to listen to this in a second because she's digging herself a legal hole right now, claiming all this stuff about Dominion voting systems. This is exactly what got Fox News sued for almost $1 billion. Anyway, in addition to her appearance on Alex Jones, she's also been claiming that there's a weather gun, a hurricane gun that, what do you call it? Democrats are pointing at the United States and pulling the hurricane trigger or whatever. and it's causing hurricanes to destroy Florida. Anyway, she's making all these claims, and Bill Nye comes out here and debunks it. So I want to focus on Marjorie Taylor Greene for a second. Let's listen to what she had to say to Alex Jones.
But take your time, because I interrupted you when you started to tell it. But please tell that from the beginning.
Okay, yeah, no problem, Alex. So just earlier this morning, I received from a very good friend of mine that lives here in my district. And so Whitfield County, someone posted up that when they went to vote in Whitfield County here in Georgia's 14th district, now remember, we're a swing state and we need everyone to vote in my district. And so they went to vote, and we have the Dominion machines. And you go through and you mark president, you mark, for Congress, that would be me. They marked Donald Trump, and they marked who they were voting for the rest of the way down their ballot on the machine.
Yeah, that's how voting works.
Then when they're finished, the machine prints their ballot, a paper copy, a printed copy, and each voter has to review that printed copy.
That's correct, yes.
To make sure that it has selected the candidates that they want to vote for. And so when this voter printed their ballot and they looked, it had changed. It was.
But you're telling me that there's a system to detect errors, and an error was detected, and then it was fixed? Is that what you're telling me? Knock me over with a feather. Wow. Yeah, that's how it works. I went in to vote in 2016, I remember. I was in West Virginia, and they had computers that printed it out along the side, like she's saying here. And then they said, select one and then check it to verify that it did, in fact, pick the one that you wanted. If it didn't, then just hit the back button and it'll erase it and put a new one over top or whatever. And it was that simple. If it messed up, if I hit the wrong button or if whatever, the system in place to fix that was to verify along the side. What's the problem? What is she complaining about? I mean, is this even real? Probably not. She's probably just making this up off the top of her head. But it's not a surprising story, truthfully. Yeah, this is how it works.
Not Donald Trump. It was not me, and it was not the other ones they had voted for. It had switched.
It hadn't switched. At best, there was an error, and the error was caught through the error-catching system. Oh, my God.
And so they went up to one of the election workers, and they said, here's the problem. The machine switched it, and my printed ballot, I did not vote for these people. So they had to start over, and they went through it several times, and it kept on making the same error.
So you're telling me there's like a single individual that this happened with? One person? This flipped the votes of a single person? There are no other people that have come forward with these problems? And you're telling me that there's no evidence that this one even happened? I mean, come on, man. Give me something more than this. I think Dominion is currently suing her for libel and defamation. Are they? Are they suing her? Hold on. She's digging herself a hole right now. One day ago, Dominion Voting Systems, which manufactures voting machines, this is on Newsweek, across the U.S., says it's prepared to counter lies and seek accountability from those who spread them regarding its voting systems and election integrity following the revival of 2020 conspiracy claims from Elon Musk and Marjorie Taylor Greene. Interesting. Well, I hope that they do. I hope they follow through with that and actually hold people accountable for lying about them. Their reputation is destroyed now. How do they come back from that? Like, Dominion voting systems were fine. There's nothing wrong with them. In fact, it's a good thing to have a voting machine because it's more accurate with everything that it does. The counting and the tabulating, recording, all of it. Way more accurate than a human and faster. We should be using machines. But Dominion had its reputation destroyed by these people. I hope they sue them for every penny that they own, Mike Lindell included. Just a joke.
Kept on switching the votes. And so this is something we're just starting to look into today because I just found out about it this morning before I came on your show today. But we will be following up, and I'll be talking to election workers and officials here in the district and making sure that this happens, that these ballots are correct. Because that's extremely concerning. It sounds similar to what we heard in 2020, but there.
You tell me it sounds similar to the lies that she told in 2020? Yeah, no, of course it does. These people are a one-note song. This is all they know how to talk about It's all the same conspiracy nonsense from them every time. Oh my God, bro. But check this one out. This is another appearance that she made on Alex Jones. This is actually from a couple years ago. This is early February 2022.
What do you make of Laura Logan getting deplatformed and getting attacked for coming out and comparing him to Joseph Mengele? I think
comparing Fauci to Mengele.
It's a very fair comparison.
If you think that's a fair comparison, you don't know who Joseph Mengele was. He was a Nazi doctor who did some horrific stuff that I don't even want to talk about on air because it's so horrific. You can just look it up if you want. And he paid special attention to twins. So, you know, they bring people into the concentration camp by train. They get off the trains. They stand in line. Mengele goes down the line and points left or right for each person. If they go left, no, wait a minute. I'm trying to remember how this goes. If they go left, then they go to the crematorium or something, or maybe it was right. If they go the other direction, they go to the work camp, and Mengele picks out specific people to be his test subjects. He was running experiments on human beings, and he picked out twins and did horrific experiments on twins, like really horrific bad stuff, while they're alive and awake and aware. I don't even want to get into it. It's just real bad. It's like, it's the kind of that like you could get PTSD just from reading or about this at length because it's so horrific. So anyway, Fauci is like Mengele? Is what you're telling me? Yeah, Laura Logan said that famously forever ago. Got banned from Fox News for it, I think, because it's such a horrific thing to say. And maybe it was Newsmax she got banned from over. I don't remember. Anyway, they're defending Laura Logan, claiming that Fauci is like Mengele. What?
Being attacked for coming out and comparing him to Joseph Mengele. I think it's a very fair comparison.
I think it's a fair comparison.
Well, you're both wrong.
It's basically been one big human experiment.
Right. To my knowledge, there is no doctor alive today that is as horrific and up as Mengele was. No doctor. You know, he violated the Hippocratic Oath like it didn't even exist. Do no harm. That's all he did. And he even wrote up research studies and presented the studies that he got the data for those studies from his human experiments. He would present them at these scientific conferences and stuff, like everything was completely normal. And after the war, he used what's called a rat line, basically. It was like an underground railroad, effectively, for Nazis to receive false paperwork and get a flight or a train or whatever out of Germany. He went to Argentina, lived a long life, got remarried, and died in Argentina. And 5 years after dying, they found him. The United States dug him up, found his body there. Just disgusting, man. There's no comparison between Mengele and maybe anybody. Maybe anybody. I don't know.
Been one big human experiment, right? That's what COVID-19 vaccines have been. That's what COVID-19 has been. So do I think
Oh, yeah. She thinks that, right, COVID-19 in her mind is like a big, what do you call it? Like a big experiment. Like it was intentionally created in a biolab to infect people. Like, oh my God, bro. Like, where is your head? How did you get here? This is so crazy.
19 has been. So do I think Lara Logan should have been deplatformed or attacked for what she said? No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, I tend to agree with Lara Logan.
Oh my God, this is disgusting.
And I think most people do as well.
Most people think that Fauci is like Mengele. Are you kidding me? Just disgusting stuff, for real. Just disgusting. I mean, it's really no surprise if she's saying things like this. When we have this clip from her, I think this is 2018, immediately after QAnon kind of started. When did she get into Congress? Oh, yeah. So she apparently won her seat in Congress in 2020? I thought she was in Congress way longer than 2020. Wow, dude. Yes, wow. Marjorie Taylor Greene was elected to Congress in 2020 for the first time. And this is 2 years earlier, right when QAnon was starting. It was being born from the ashes of Pizzagate, basically. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, she comes in and she says this.
The fact, because we see all these sealed federal indictments, and
we do? How are we seeing them if they're sealed? What?
sealed federal indictments, and we're seeing all these other things happen. And there's sources like he's anonymous. Q is anonymous, but he seems to be completely for the good. He seems to be totally on Trump's side, and he seems to be very high up and connected.
No, turns out he was a colossal scumbag. Well, at the time, you know what? Yeah, at the time, it was a guy named Paul Ferber. Who it was. It wasn't, it hadn't moved over yet. He was on 4chan, I believe. And eventually he moved to 8chan, which is, it's basically a website where people can post literally anything on there, including like CP, like pictures of kids being mistreated, if you will, because the servers are not hosted in the United States. So people can post whatever, literally whatever, on 8chan. So anyway, QAnon, the Q poster guy, moved to 8chan. And when he did that, the owner of the 8chan like website commandeered the account. It was Paul Ferber originally. Here, yeah, this is him right here. This is Paul Ferber. This is the original Q from QAnon. This guy right here. And it eventually, when he moved over to 8chan, it became this guy, Ron Watkins. And he was running it in tandem with his dad, Jim Watkins. Yeah, here's another picture of Ron Watkins. You know, bunch of pictures of him. Thinks he's a ninja. He ran for Congress a while back. Anyway, I was looking for his dad, Jim, but I'm not seeing him in this list. Here you go. This is Jim Watkins. All right, boom, right there. God, he's such an odd individual. Like, I don't know. Anyway. So that's who Q was. It was not some super secretive intelligence. Blah, 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 blah. Wasn't somebody with Q clearance. Q level security clearance. That's not what happened. That's not what they had. It was just some random asshole. That's it. But she wasn't in Congress yet, so she had no way of knowing that, I suppose. However, she still seems to believe in Q and QAnon, like today.
Trump's side, and he seems to be very high up and connected. So because of those things, I'm becoming more hopeful, and I'm not being as pessimistic, and I'm trying to stop saying that's never going to happen, because I really think it might happen.
What might happen? What does she think is going to happen?
So I'm very excited about that. Now, there's a once in a lifetime opportunity to take this global cable of Satan worshiping files out.
This is how you know that she's never actually heard this word spoken before. Cable. This global cable. It's called cabal, Marjorie. Cabal. It's from the word Kabbalah, which is like a Jewish mystic practice. It's really just a form of meditation, but they made a bunch of claims about it that, you know, the old Kabbalah masters could like move things with their mind and things like that. But that knowledge has been lost to history because the last Kabbalah master died. But if you do Kabbalah enough, then you could learn to move things with your mind too, if you're good enough at it. Anyway, that's what Kabbalah is. And the fact that it's from Judaism, the word cabal, should tell you that these conspiracies about the cabal are anti-Semitic. It's anti-Semitic nonsense.
And I think we have the president to do it. And so I'm very excited about that.
She's excited about that. The president is going to do it. Trump. Oh my God, bro. You know, Donald Trump set out to convince people that QAnon was real. He manipulated them. It's just an embarrassment. Okay, I can't really fit this in anywhere, but it's worth just talking about because it's just so funny. This is not what the video is about, but I want to watch this. Okay, we're going to talk about Marjorie Taylor Greene, but I found this woman who's very, very upset about the government.
Sexist. And no, I don't have to talk to you politely. You sexist. In Jasper County, motherfuckers, I'm coming for you. You motherfuckers, I'm coming for you. Yeah. All legal like. Yeah, legal. We'll do it on your terms, motherfuckers. Our government needs stopped. Stopped.
Oh my God, get help, man. This is so funny. I love this. Get help. That's funny.
In Jasper County, motherfuckers, I'm coming for you.
Oh my God.
Yeah, motherfuckers, I'm coming for you.
I love it. I'm saying this is why I do this job. It's so funny. This face is iconic right here. This one. I'm going to screenshot this. Oh my God, it's so funny. Sorry, a little aside there because I'm so deeply entertained by the psychosis that's happening right now. Oh man. This is who we're dealing with. These types of people, okay? Here's another one from Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, I'm just kind of going through them because I'm so entertained by the crazy shit she's up to.
They want you to be required to have something called a COVID passport. And this would mandate your ability to be able to travel, your ability to be able to go to events.
So did this happen? Or do we need the COVID passports now? Or was she just like completely full of shit the entire time?
Ability to be able to buy and sell. And I asked the question earlier today, is this something like Biden's mark of the beast? Because that
Biden's mark of the beast? You mean the book of Revelations mark of the beast? What the hell is she talking about?
Beast, because that is really disturbing and not good. Oh, if you're going to come into the football game or the baseball game or the concert, you need your vaccine passport.
But that didn't happen. None of that happened. Okay, there were vaccine cards that we needed to dine in at restaurants sometimes, in some cases. You could get takeout and it wasn't a problem. Or you know what happened in New York City? In a lot of cases, there were these pop-up structures, basically, that were like outside, and they had like plastic shielding and heat lamps and everything for the winter. And if you went to a restaurant and you didn't have your little vaccine card, you could just sit out there and eat your food. No big deal. Eat outside. That's as bad as it got. That's it. But Marjorie Taylor Greene cannot deal with the fact that she was full of shit the entire time. So if she doesn't outright deny all of this stuff, then she just clamps it. She doesn't say a word. She pretends she never said anything about it in the first place. It's an embarrassment.
Because we're trying to do a good job to keep everyone safe. This is what the Biden administration is trying to talk to these private companies into doing. Well, let's analyze that. You see, it's still the same thing. It's still fascism or communism.
It's fascism or communism, she says. Are you kidding me?
The same thing. It's still fascism or communism, whatever you want to call it.
Okay, does she realize they're not the same? That fascism and communism are different? Is she aware of that fact?
But it's coming from private companies. So I have a term for that. I call it corporate communism.
It's so stupid, dude. Just everything that she just said shows me she has no idea what she's talking about. Communists and Nazis or the fascists in Italy or whatever, they were opposed to each other. They hated each other. They could not get along. The term communazi is an oxymoron. You cannot be both. Additionally, there is no corporate communism. What the hell does corporate communism mean? Communism is state control of corporations. There is no corporate communism. What is she even complaining about here? What does she think communism is? Does she think communism is just like when a company does something she doesn't like? Is that what it is? I don't know.
That I call it corporate communism.
Oh my God. She's coined a new term, guys. Corporate communism. It is so stupid. Anyway, so she's been claiming that there's a weather gun that, they point this hurricane gun at the U.S. and they pull the trigger and now we got a hurricane just like that. Bill Nye went on CNN to talk about it. So I just want to listen to a little bit of his appearance here. Check this one out.
The Southeast is in storm recovery mode after two deadly hurricanes in just 2 weeks. A new study shows that ultra warm water in the Gulf of Mexico supercharged Helene and human-caused climate change. Of course, likely heated up that water. A lot to discuss with our next guest. Bill Nye, the science guy, is also part of the.
I don't know that they should even bother saying human-caused because I feel like that adds fuel to the conspiracies. It's just climate change. It's obvious that humans are causing this. It's proven beyond a shadow of a doubt. The only reason anybody's even talking about it is because people are trying to deflect the conversation into a completely different direction so that nobody accepts or some people don't accept that climate change is real. Anyway, it's just, I can't believe that we're here with this climate change conversation. We're literally debunking a congressman claiming the U.S. has a weather gun.
He's also part of the Too Hot Not to Vote campaign and to engage and educate voters on climate change and clean energy. Bill, I mean, as a news guy, I guess we have to couch things and say likely to do this and likely to do. I mean, but with how much certainty can we say, yes, climate change is heating up the Gulf?
100% certainty. There is no 99% here.
Supercharging these hurricanes.
Well, there's no question that climate change is heating up the Gulf. That's proven. The question is, does an individual storm a result of climate change? Well, in this case, yes, because it's the heat that's in the water that got there from the heat that's held in the atmosphere that was held in on account of carbon dioxide principally, and also.
Right. So I believe a heated body of water is what causes hurricanes to form in the first place, which is why we have a hurricane season at a certain time of year, because it's really hot and it's adding fuel to these gigantic weather events. That's how it works. So the Gulf is, I don't know, say 2 degrees hotter than usual on average, and it'll have spikes and dips. And that heat is contributing to storms. Now, when a hurricane forms, as they've always formed throughout human history, throughout all of history, it will suck in additional energy now, uniquely, that it wouldn't have sucked in previously because it's warmer. So yeah, maybe the hurricane doesn't exist necessarily because of climate change, but it's gigantic as a result of climate change, at the very least.
Principally, and also other greenhouse gases like methane, natural gas. And so
Antic says Canada uses a weather trebuchet. You're telling people secrets over there.
Natural gas. And so this is an extraordinary storm that was 300 nautical miles wide. This is a remarkable thing. And I just heard a previous segment.
Jesus Christ, dude. I lived in Tampa.
The water's going to continue to rise because
why is that?
Rain.
Trying to see if I recognize any of these areas here. Hang on. So 552. Looks like stock footage. I mean, I'm not sure which street this is. Tampa was geographically very large. It covered a large area. And I think it had 300,000 people, but it was multiple cities in length and width. So I don't think I recognize these specific spots. I should probably message my old boss. He was a really nice guy. He lives in Tampa. Wow, look at this footage, man. Just destroyed, right? Okay, let's step back now. Listening here.
Well, the rain fell in a very, very large area. It's like a giant funnel. And so it's draining toward the sea, and it takes several days. So the sheriff was there reminding people that the water's still going to go up. Counterintuitive. It stopped raining, but the water level's still going to rise. That's science.
Which is scary.
It's scary, yeah. I mean, because the water is so destructive. I'm not telling you guys who are living through it, but the water, we think water is what gives us life, is what sustains us. That's true. But too much of this good thing is deadly.
And, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, he's been pushing back on.
Yeah, it's so scary. It's like I saw the other day, there was somebody who said they lived next to a river, but the river had never flooded beyond 10 feet. It had raised 10 feet at its height. And they lived 30 feet above where the river was. And they're like, we're just going to stay. We think we're safe from the hurricane. And it shows 24 hours later, it shows them looking out their window, and the water is up to their window. And there's a house, a full house floating by. The water lifted a home and floated it away. That's crazy. The power is insane. Unimaginable how much power there is in a hurricane.
It's deadly.
And, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, he's been pushing back on the climate's role in these stronger storms. Let's take a listen to that and talk about it.
God, he's so stupid to do this, to say these things. Ron DeSantis. I don't understand how a Florida governor can come out here and say these things.
Yeah, I just think people should put this in perspective. They try to take different things that happen with tropical weather and act like it's something. There's nothing new under the sun. This is something that the state has dealt with for its entire history, and it's something that we'll continue to deal with. I think what's changed is we've got 23 million people.
I don't understand. How does that change anything? How would that make a difference? What's he talking about? Florida is going to be underwater in the next, by the end of the century. In the next 75 years, probably, we're going to lose parts of Florida to the ocean because giant, like, icebergs and ice walls and stuff have all come melting down into the ocean and are rising the sea levels now. He's going to have to admit this eventually or just not be governor anymore. It's just insane to me that he can say such a thing with a straight face.
Yeah, Bill, what do you have to say to that? I mean, we could just show our viewers, and they can look this up on their own, that, I mean, the frequency of these powerful hurricanes has picked up over the last couple of decades.
Well, absolutely. The other thing is, objectively, the water in the Gulf is warmer than it's ever been. And so this is what the word everybody throws around is fuels hurricanes, but this provides the energy.
Yeah, people like to pretend that there's no objective information to be found here. Like, this is all just kind of, we don't know, we think this is probably the case. No, we have objective information here. And the point behind this whole thing is that Marjorie Taylor Greene is the reason for Bill Nye being on here. She has been spreading this weather gun conspiracy theory. Like, she's all over Twitter posting about how the U.S. has a weather gun that they're aiming at us or whatever other stupid thing. And it's all Democrats' cities or whatever. Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend attacked SNL for making fun of her over her hurricane weather control conspiracies. Brian Glenn implied laughing at his girlfriend means that you're ignorant.
This week, Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene tweeted, yes, they can control the weather. And I don't know who they is, but it has been a suspiciously nice Rosh Hashanah weekend.
That's just insane, bro. That is insane. It's going to come to a point where they have to admit to this, right? When is it going to happen? All right, tell me what you think about it in the comments. This is just so ridiculous, man. So ridiculous. Next up, Glenn Beck spoke out against Trump in 2016. Well, now he's giving him a glowing endorsement. What could have possibly changed? Is it possible that maybe his opinion of Trump isn't genuine? Maybe he's just following whoever has the most power? This guy is so transparent. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon. Also, take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally. This is Glenn Beck. If you don't know him, he's a right-wing radio host, political pundit. He's a Mormon, complete nutcase. And hilariously, in 2016, he was super opposed to Donald Trump. Oh my God, he was really oppositional to Trump in 2016. And then he won. And now we found ourselves at a point where he's campaigning for Donald Trump in 2024 and talking about how honest and upstanding and deep down good Donald Trump and his children are. I mean, oh my God, dude. Just let's talk about him. I've been looking for a reason to talk about this clip we're about to watch. I just want to give you an idea of who he is if you're unfamiliar. So listen to this. This is him talking about Jehovah's Witnesses in World War II.
The other star that I have, I'm sorry to say I left it backstage, is purple.
Talking about the badge, I guess, a star or whatever. He's talking about the badges that people wore in World War II that Hitler made people wear. Okay.
Does anybody know what the purple triangle was?
Jehovah's Witnesses.
No, not gay.
It was Jehovah's Witnesses.
That was pink. Brown was gypsy. Black was anarchist. Purple Bible scholar.
No, it was Jehovah's Witness. What are you talking about? Dude is just like pulling this right out of his... And this isn't even the kind of mistake that he maybe heard somewhere and repeated. This is Glenn Beck. He made this up. This mistake is nowhere to be found outside of Glenn Beck. It didn't mean Bible scholar. It meant Jehovah's Witness.
Scholar. If you knew anything about the Bible, you were an enemy of the state.
No? It's just a complete lie.
Why? Why? Because the truth shall set you free, not work. The truth shall set you free.
Actually, religion in the Third Reich was very popular. Hitler shouted out to religion all the time. Did he personally believe it? I don't know. He was not an atheist. Absolutely no chance he's an atheist. I'm leaning toward he's probably Christian, but it was a kind of a distorted version of Christianity that many people may not recognize as Christianity anymore because they de-Judaified Christianity or de-Judaized Christianity. They removed Judaism from it, which is quite a feat when you think about it, because I read about this in my book, by the way, owenmorgan.com. Was Hitler an Atheist is the title of the book. Check it out. It's on Amazon, also everywhere. Audible. It's released now, I believe. By the time you see this, it'll be out. Hitler believed, in my opinion, in a Nazified Christianity. So the beliefs, it was a full-blown kind of denomination of Protestantism that had fully taken over the Protestant religion in Germany from 1933 clear through to the end, 1945. In their effort to remove Judaism from Christianity, they basically started by removing the Old Testament. They got some Bible scholars up there. Let me rephrase. There was an election for Reich bishop. The bishop, the head, basically the president over the Protestant denomination. There were 28 different church districts in the Protestant religion. It was to the north in Germany. Catholics were to the south. So in northern Germany, 28 districts, somewhere around 18 of them were Lutheran, 4 or 5 were Reformed Church, basically the predecessor to Presbyterian, and the rest were United churches. They were a combination of Reformed and Lutheran. Anyway, for the first time, they get a Reich bishop, a guy that is kind of over top of all of it. And they held elections, and they voted in this guy named Friedrich Bodelschwing. And he was in office for all of 1 month. He was not a Hitler-loving Nazi, although he did agree with a lot of the anti-Jewish stuff. It's more of a moderate. But Hitler didn't like him. He didn't want him in there. So he started this gigantic harassment campaign against Bodelschwing, having people call him at all hours of the night and sending him letters protesting outside of his office and everything. He resigned after a month, and they held new elections. In those elections, Hitler put his thumb on the scales by instructing all of the Nazis to vote in church elections. All of them. It was a mandate. You must vote in these church elections. He publicly endorsed Bodelschwing's opponent, which was a guy named Ludwig Müller. So he publicly endorsed him, and they did all kinds of any little dirty tricks they could possibly do to get Ludwig Müller in. They did it, and it worked. He got voted in, but with 2/3 of the vote, basically. That was a denomination basically called German Christians, is what they called themselves. They were adherents to positive Christianity. They called it positive Christianity because they were sick of being torn down all the time. Like the Versailles Treaty kind of hurt their pride, so they wanted something positive. They're going to go with positive Christianity because it's positive about the German people and hating Jews. Anyway, positive Christianity's like doctrine or ideology or whatever, their dogma involved removing the Old Testament. So they set up these meetings where they get Old Testament scholars in to argue in favor of keeping the Old Testament. But the conversation's happening now. So they get a bunch of people in to debate this stuff, and eventually they just remove the Old Testament. And then they start removing stuff from Paul. You know, Romans was gone. I don't know. A whole bunch of others. Hebrews, gone. A whole bunch of stuff is gone. They basically were left with like the gospel accounts and some other things. And they reworked Christianity to be something completely new, just based on what they had removed. That was positive Christianity. That was the German Christians, and they were very much supported by Hitler. Very much supported by him. Additionally, German Christians made up about 20% of the Protestant church in Germany in 1935 or so. About 20%. The confessing church, the opposition to the Nazified Christianity, was about 10%, give or take. Everybody else, the other 60, 70%, whatever it is, they were all from a group called intact churches. And the intact churches pretty much didn't care. They were along for the ride. They mostly probably agreed with the German Christians. Some of them probably agreed with a little bit of the confessing church, but they were just going along and doing their business, and that was it. Hitler supported Christianity through the entire thing. He had to, because he knew that it could break his power base. Whether he believed or not, I don't know. I think he believed in a version of positive Christianity, which may not be recognizable to modern-day Christians, but it was Christianity. They believed in Jesus. They believed that they'd go to heaven and all that other stuff. They just removed Judaism from it. That's all. Anyway, Glenn Beck is just like rewriting history here. This is Holocaust revisionism that he's doing right now. Hitler did not hate Bible scholars. The Purple Triangle was not for Bible scholars. It was for Jehovah's Witnesses. And by the way, the reason that Hitler got into it with Jehovah's Witnesses, it was on principle. They were two conflicting totalitarian systems. This was like admitted to by Nazi leadership in the Nuremberg trials. Again, I go into the whole thing in my book if you want to read it. Audible and Amazon, owenmorgan.com. Anyway, Was Hitler an Atheist is the title. They got persecuted, Jehovah's Witnesses specifically, because they refused to say Heil Hitler. And that greeting was mandatory at a certain point. Like, you answer the phone like that. Heil Hitler, you know? As you're walking down the street, you say, Heil Hitler, waving at people and stuff. And Jehovah's Witnesses wouldn't do it. And it was, you know, they caught notice. Like, people noticed what was happening, and they started putting them in camps. Additionally, they refused to vote. That was a big deal. That got Jehovah's Witnesses, that painted a gigantic target on their backs. And Jehovah's Witnesses refused to join the military because they were pacifists. All that stuff combined led to Hitler persecuting them terribly. Anyway, it wasn't because they were Christian. Hitler was a Christian. The Nazis were by and large Christian. It was a Christian structure. There were a few pagans that, you know what, let me put it this way, 98.5% of Germany believed in God. 95% were Christian explicitly. So Hitler was not like an atheist trying to hurt Bible scholars, just making this shit up.
Why? Because the truth shall set you free, not work. The truth shall set you free. If you know the scriptures, and you truly know the scriptures, you know the scriptures are not to dominate someone. That's unrighteous dominion.
Really? You're not supposed to dominate people with the scriptures, you say. Interesting. Go on.
Somebody behind my chalkboard? Thank you. Here's the purple triangle.
Yeah. Yep, there you go. Purple triangle. That's true. Anyway, as far as I remember it, people are actively trying to dominate using the Bible. I'll just show you one basic example. Good friend of Glenn Beck's, matter of fact, Lance Wallnau, explains how he intends to dominate the United States. He explains his 7 mountains dominionism philosophy, where he wants to get people to the tops of these key areas of society: art and government, military and education, and so on and so forth.
3% of the population, roughly 3 to 4% of the population, are radical leftist elites.
I mean, that's just completely made up, but okay.
30% of the population are evangelical born-again Christians that are inclined to go towards Pentecostal language. I mean, we're really out there. 30% against 3%, but they neutralize the church because they're also in religion. They changed the definition of marriage, so they've taken over family. They've totally taken over academia, so the education institutions are teaching leftist theology or leftist ideology and silencing conservatives.
FYI, this plan that he's laying out, how he wants to get people to the top of these areas, this is Nazi propaganda. This is what the Nazis claimed Jews were doing to take over society, getting people to the tops of these areas of society. It is so on the nose. Oh my God.
They're controlling government right now. They've taken over legacy media. Hollywood, entertainment, and arts, and now they've got Wall Street. This is 3%. 30% of the population is Christian. How is it that 30% are dominated by 3%?
Like words out of Hitler's mouth. The 3% are controlling everything at the top. This is Nazi propaganda that Lance Walnut is repeating. Remember, friends with Glenn Beck, know each other, have worked together, that kind of thing. Have both sat with Trump and spoken to him, prayed with him, and all that other shit. The point is, Glenn Beck is telling us that Christianity is not about domination. Really? Okay, wow, that's interesting. I didn't expect to hear that from Glenn Beck, of all people. Anyway, listen to what Glenn Beck had to say about Trump in 2016.
You lose your word. You lose your honor. There is nothing that will impact your life more.
October 2016, right before the election.
Life more than that. Ever. Ever. I will not return to him and have him say, hang on just a second. I sent you down at a specific time, did I not? Yes, you did. And this is an eternal plan, right? Yes. You weren't born for a happenstance. It just didn't happen that you popped out in America at this time, right? No, Lord. I know there is a plan to everything you do. Okay, so I set you in America. At its time of crisis, I gave you parents who taught you my words. They filled it. You even went to one of the best universities based on my word.
Wait, so I think he's speaking at Liberty University. It's not the best university at all, but is he saying that God chose not to give people good parents? Some people he granted good parents to? Okay.
And help me out again. You did what? Because I'm just looking here, and I know what it says because I wrote it. So I know what it says, but help me out. What part of stay away from men like that? What part of, Lord, we had the Supreme Court quote this, because I played this out in my head. What am I going to say to him? You don't understand? You weren't there?
So he's opposed to Donald Trump in 2016 is the point. Here's another one.
Donald Trump, I really truly believe, is a very dangerous man. If you listen to, Chris, some of the things he said this weekend, I could go on at Fifth Avenue and I could shoot people and I wouldn't lose a single vote. He's joked about killing reporters like Putin. The mood of the country is very angry, but you never make a good decision when you're angry. The worst thing we can do is to now start looking at, well, who's going to get revenge? One of the things that Donald Trump does.
Isn't this fascinating? It is so interesting to listen to this guy just completely flip what he's saying today. Like, it's just a 180-degree turnaround from what he was saying just like a week ago. So this is 8 years ago that he's saying this stuff. And today he's supporting Trump. This is just so crazy.
Revenge. One of the things that Donald Trump does, and look, you want to take a shot at me. I mean, look at me, Chris. You can take, there's lots of jokes to be made. So it doesn't bother me. But when you have a guy who is angry and then has an enemies list and starts just to take people down over and over and over again, if you disagree with him, he destroys you. If that's the mood of the country, then we're in more trouble than I thought.
Yeah, we're in trouble. But see, that therein lies the problem. He doesn't actually believe that anymore. He appeared at a Trump-Vance rally to, I think it may have been like Carrie Lake. He was endorsing Carrie Lake and stuff. Anyway, listen to what he had to say at this rally.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage founder of Blaze Media and conservative commentator, Glenn Beck.
Well, hello.
He definitely has old plantation owner vibes, right? Is it just me?
Arizona. What an honor it is to follow the next senator from Arizona, Carrie Lake. I am here today because this is the election that will decide who we are, where our children live, the opportunities that they will have. This is a sacred, to me, a sacred duty and honor, not to just be here, but also to vote. We need to get people out to vote
for who? Vote for who exactly, Glenn?
To vote for Donald Trump.
That's an interesting flip.
You don't need me to tell you we live in what I believe are prophesied times. We are living in a time where evil is literally called good and good is evil. Where men can become women and strangely men can also become little girls.
This is just fake bullshit. Why are they like this? Why do they do this? Is it just to enrage people for absolutely no reason? Is it just because they want voter enthusiasm? Is that what it's about? If you can get people pissed off enough, then you can guarantee that they'll vote for you or whatever. This is just disgusting. Nobody is trying to do this. Nobody is pushing for this. No one is... Blah, blah, blah. None of it. He's just making all of this up. Now, people are trans. People can be trans. Yes, that's the case, obviously. And if you asked him, I'd be willing to bet Glenn Beck would probably acknowledge that, yes, that has happened, that trans people do exist. But this whole trans age thing is bullshit propaganda fabricated to hurt the LGBT community.
If that's not creepy enough. We know about what's happening to our girls. This is the destruction of women. I know there
Suddenly
are
gives a shit about women, huh?
some women that say, I don't know, I just can't vote for Donald Trump. The policies of the left and Kamala Harris are destroying our women. They are undermining us as parents. Anybody who says that they should be able to counsel my child in secret is a predator.
Are you kidding me? Children should be able to report things and speak to a counselor, like a school counselor. Yes, obviously. Or a therapist, of course. What about the kids who were being taken advantage of by their parents, by their dad or something? What about that? You telling me that this kid should not have access to a mandatory reporter who they can tell this stuff to? He's making this not just innocuous, but beneficial thing into an insane, destructive, evil thing that Satan invented. A beneficial thing where people can speak to school counselors.
This is what we're up against. And for people who say, I don't know if I can vote for Donald Trump.
Ooh, let's hear how he would respond to himself 8 years ago.
The one thing that you cannot question is his children.
What? Yes, you can? I simply disagree.
His children love him and honor him. His children, quite honestly, with that much wealth and that much fame, they should be crackheads.
They are. Don Jr., at the very least, I'm very confident, is addicted to coke. If you watch his appearance at like his podcast, I think it's called the Triggered Podcast or something with Don Jr., it's very clear that he's on coke, in my opinion. And, you know, I have experience with addiction. I have experience with group therapy. I have a degree in substance abuse counseling. I'm very immersed in this world. I feel comfortable analyzing whether Don Jr. is on coke. I'm very comfortable saying that he is. Of course, they're making fun of Hunter Biden here, right?
Well, trying to think if there's an example of that anywhere.
So funny. Just clap your hands into bloody nubs, people.
Where did I leave my Hunter Biden facts? These are people who contribute to society, who honor their father and their mother.
We're talking about Trump's kids? We're talking about Don Jr. and Eric?
I don't know how he did that. He's a genius at business.
No, he isn't. He's a scumbag.
The man should write a parenting book. How did he do it?
Dude, we are just in totally different realities. Like, we are seeing the world from different perspectives here entirely. But you know what? I don't even think that's true. I think Glenn Beck knows. Based on what he said in 2016, he knows that he's lying here. He must, right? He knows he's completely full of...
You're also... I feel prompted to tell you that the biggest...
I don't know, what, somebody yelling?
The biggest, most obvious and dangerous perversion, one that should set everyone's alarm bells off, is this. Every Sabbath, every Sunday, if you go to church, you break bread.
But the Sabbath is on Saturday, but okay.
Break bread in remembrance of him. This is my body, which I have given.
That's communion. Get to the point.
For you. The left has perverted that to the point to where it is, this is my child's body, which I will give up for me.
So that's communion now? The left has perverted communion. Instead of eating Cheez-Its, those little Cheez-It-looking Jesus crackers, instead of eating Cheez-Its, now they're making crackers out of their children and giving them to people? What? This doesn't even make any sense. Brother, I don't understand. What are you talking about right now? I am trying. So what he's saying, I don't know what that had to do with communion. He's just saying that people are making choices for themselves. Yes, that's what freedom is. First time hearing of this?
That is evil and must not continue.
Okay, so his justification for voting for Trump, regardless of what you think of the guy, abortion. That's it. Abortion. That's what he said. And what is he arguing for with abortion? Abortion has already been ceded to the states or whatever. It's no longer a federal issue. Now states make decisions. So what's he fighting for exactly with abortion? He's obviously fighting for a federal ban, right? He wants to get abortion banned across the board, presumably with zero exceptions. Why else would he be talking about this issue? So I guess Donald Trump committing fraud over and over and over again, even being convicted for fraud, 34 felony counts on fraud and other things, being sued nearly out of existence, being found civilly liable as a rapist. It's okay to vote for him because abortion? And on top of all that, I don't know if you guys knew this. Did you know that Donald Trump, he's run casinos basically like his whole life, a long time. He tried to open a casino in Australia and was denied in the 80s or the 90s, I think, because of his ties to the mafia. They denied his access because of his ties to the mob. And that should tell you something. We're not talking about 2 years ago where you can claim that there's some politically motivated something or other. No, this is 30 years ago or more. The dude has been a scumbag his whole life from beginning to end.
We are looking at a relationship with evil that cannot be tolerated. We must. The Constitution is hanging by a thread. It is time for the good people.
Wait, how's the Constitution hanging by a thread? He's just talking about abortion. What does that have to do with anything? Yeah, the Constitution's hanging by a thread because Donald Trump is about to destroy it. With things like this right here.
And again, Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian.
Point is, Donald Trump is genuinely a danger to democracy, like actually. Now, what does he think is hanging by a thread or whatever about to destroy the Constitution? What is the left doing that's about to destroy the Constitution? He knows he's full of... He must. He cannot possibly not know, right?
It is time for the good people that know the difference between right and wrong to stand up and save the republic. It is time to call on God's army that is armed with our voices and our votes.
This is just insane. This is absolutely nuts. And you notice in the background, you got signs that say, secure our border. Let me ask you something. Why don't they want immigrants in the country? What is the actual reason, if asked? What is the downside to immigrants? A lot of the time people will say they commit crime. No, they don't. They commit crime at a dramatically lower rate than U.S. citizens. So what's the reason? You know that an economy gets a massive boost anytime you kind of feed labor into the system. The more people are operating in an economy, the better the economy performs. Russia and China have tried to birth their way into a good economy with a baby boom. Told their people they'd pay them $10,000 for every kid that they have. Russia did specifically a couple of years ago during the Ukraine situation when it first started. We don't have to do that in the United States. We have people desperate to get in and start working, adding to the labor force, contributing. Tons of people. What's the downside? It is nothing but beneficial for immigrants to come into the United States. There is only one reason, as far as I can tell, why people wouldn't want immigrants in the United States. I don't know of any other, just the one.
You know, Kamala Harris said just the other day in an interview that if she could do it all over again, what would she change? Is there any policies or anything that she would change? Immediately, the list was endless in my head, and she responded, no, nothing.
I don't know what he's talking about, what the context was. I mean, change anything in the Biden administration or anything in her past. I have no idea what he's talking about. So.
How is this woman the agent of change? How do people get that understanding of who she is? Let me tell you something. If you want change, vote Donald Trump. Things are going to change. Thank you.
Wow. Okay. Well, Trump is most definitely the establishment pick at this point. Anybody who wants to control the government is encouraging people to vote for Donald Trump because they know that he'll do anything for them if they get him into office. And that's interesting. He says things are going to change. What? What's going to change? What does he think will change if Trump wins? Exactly. I know what's going to change. What does he think is going to change? This is wild to me, man. It's insane to me that this guy flipped on a dime like this. I mean, tell me what you think about it in the comments. This dude's shameless and so full of shit. That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. And take a look at my YouTube channels. Owen Morgan, where I talk about religious issues. Telltale Fireside Chat, where I talk about politics. Telltale Unfiltered, where I do long-form breakdowns of stuff like this. And take a look at my website, owenmorgan.com. I'm selling my book, Understanding Jehovah's Witnesses, 400 pages, and my second book, 100 Questions for Jehovah's Witnesses, which is about 80 pages. And you can find them both there on the website. Audio form, ebook form, whatever. It's about my experiences within the religion and the history of the religion generally. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.